What they found behind this locked door will change everything you thought you knew about the Three Stooges. For 50 years, nobody touched the garage door at 9061 Thrasher Avenue in Hollywood Hills. The metal was rusty, the paint was old, and dust covered everything. But in 2024, someone finally turned that handle. What came out wasn't just old stuff. It was secrets that shocked everyone who knew about Moe Howard and the Three Stooges. Moe Howard wasn't born rich or famous. His real name was Moses Harry Horwitz, and he grew up poor in Brooklyn in 1897. His dad pressed pants for rich people, working 16 hours every day just to buy food. His mom washed clothes for other families until her hands were rough and red. Little Moses watched his parents work so hard, and he promised himself he would find a better life. When Moses was 12, he snuck into a theater without paying. He hid behind the last row and watched a man on stage make everyone laugh so hard they cried. That night, Moses knew what he wanted to do. He wanted that power to make people forget their problems and just be happy. But getting that power would cost him more than he ever thought possible. Moses changed his name to Moe Howard and married Helen in 1925. Helen loved him but was scared about his dream of being a performer. She made him promise to get a real job selling houses. For 3 long years, Moe sold houses during the day while his heart broke every night. He would stand in front of his mirror practicing funny faces, knowing he might never use them on stage. Then in 1928, the phone rang. Ted Healy needed someone for his comedy show. When Moe answered that call, Helen saw her husband come alive again, but she also saw something scary. Moe wanted success so badly that nothing else mattered. She knew this chance would take over his whole life. What happened next made Moe famous, but it also broke his heart in ways fans never knew. The Three Stooges became huge stars, but behind all the laughs was real pain. Larry Fine was great at comedy, but terrible with money. Moe had to watch Larry's finances or he would go broke. Curly, who was really Moe's little brother, Jerome, was the funniest of them all, but couldn't handle being famous. He drank too much and got sick, and Moe blamed himself. The worst day came in 1946 while they were making a movie called Half-Wit's Holiday. Right there on the movie set, Curly had a stroke. Moe watched his little brother fall down and couldn't help him. For the first time in his life, Moe couldn't fix a problem by being tough or smart. Curly would never be the same, and Moe carried that guilt forever. But the cruelest thing was how the movie studio treated them. Columbia Pictures made millions of dollars from Three Stooges movies, but they only paid the 3 men $7,500 for each short film. That meant each stooge got about $2,500 before taxes. The studio bosses sat in fancy offices smoking expensive cigars while Moe, Larry, and Curly worked like slaves for almost nothing. The most heartbreaking moment came in 1952. Moe found out that Three Stooges movies were being sold to TV stations all over America. Kids were watching them every day after school and families were laughing together. But the Three Stooges weren't getting paid anything extra. When Moe asked the studio about this, they just shrugged. They said the Stooges were just employees who had done their job. That day, Moe realized he had been fooled. But it was too late to change anything. This is why Moe became so protective of his personal things. Every letter, every photo, every piece of paper from his career became precious to him. He had learned that other people would make money from his work without asking him. So he decided to keep control of whatever he could. His garage became the place where he stored everything that mattered to him. The garage wasn't just for cars. It became Moe's safe place. Helen watched her husband spend hours in there, not fixing cars, but just sitting with his things. He would touch old photos and scripts like they were treasures. In a way, they were. These items were proof that his life and work had meaning, even if the studios didn't respect him. When Moe got sick in 1975, he made Helen promise something strange. He wanted the garage locked up after he died. Not cleaned out or given away, but sealed shut. "They took everything else," he told her. "But they can't have this." Helen didn't understand then, but she kept her promise. Even after she died 5 months later, the garage stayed locked. For almost 50 years, that garage was like a mystery. People in the neighborhood knew it belonged to Moe Howard, but nobody dared to open it. Kids made up stories about what might be inside. Some thought there were secret Three Stooges movies. Others thought Moe had hidden money in there. But the truth was much more important than anyone guessed. When they finally opened the garage in 2024, the first thing they noticed was how organized everything was. Moe hadn't just thrown things in there. He had arranged everything carefully like a museum. He knew that someday people would need to see these things to understand the real story of the Three Stooges. Two beautiful Cadillac cars sat under old covers. The first was a 1952 Cadillac Series 62, a fancy car that proved Moe had some success despite what the studio said. The second was a 1967 sedan DeVille that Moe drove every day in his later years. Both cars were in amazing condition, protected by the sealed garage for decades. They weren't flashy sports cars, just good, reliable cars that showed Moe's practical nature. But the real treasures were in the boxes stacked neatly around the cars. Inside were things that told the true story of Moe's life. His 1942 Columbia Pictures ID card was there. The little plastic card that let him onto movie sets where he made comedy gold while being paid almost nothing. When this card was sold at auction years later, it brought $11,858. That's more than Moe made in some entire years of his career. They found handwritten notes for Punch Drunks, one of the most famous Three Stooges movies. The pages showed how carefully Moe planned every joke and every funny moment. What looked like silly random comedy was actually the result of hours of careful work. These notes sold for $9,999 at auction. There were personal letters that showed a side of Moe that fans never saw. In letters to Helen, he wrote about being tired and angry at how the movie business treated him. One letter from 1965 said, "I gave them my youth, my health, and my brother's sanity, and they gave me a handshake and told me goodbye." In another letter to his daughter, Joan, he warned her never to trust business people who smile while they steal from you. The saddest discovery was pages from a book Moe was trying to write about his life. He never finished it, but the pages that were there told painful truths. He wrote about the exact moment in 1958 when he learned that Columbia Pictures had been lying to them. Moe was in a hotel and heard two studio executives laughing about how much money they were making from Three Stooges TV shows. "I stood there listening to them laugh about how we signed away our rights for nothing," he wrote. "And I understood that we were never partners. We were just workers they could throw away." The garage also had original movie posters that were worth thousands of dollars. A poster for Uncivil Warriors from 1935 was valued at $30,000. Another for Calling All Curs from 1939 sold for more than $6,500. These weren't just pretty pictures. They were proof of how popular the Three Stooges really were. Even though the studios told them nobody cared about their work. Personal items like Moe's Screen Actors Guild card and sign checks showed the everyday life of a comedy legend. Even ordinary things became valuable because they belonged to Moe Howard. A simple check he signed in 1971, displayed with an old photo, became a collector's treasure. When all these items were sold at auction in 2024, they brought in over $300,000. The bitter truth wasn't lost on Three Stooges fans. Moe's personal belongings made more money in one day than he earned in some whole years of his career. His simple ID card alone sold for almost half of what Columbia Pictures paid him for an entire year of work in the 1940s. But the real value of what they found in the garage isn't money. It's the truth about what really happened to the Three Stooges. For years, people thought they were just silly comedians hitting each other for laughs. The garage showed a different story. These were working men who created joy for millions while being cheated by the companies they worked for. Moe's careful saving of documents and photos wasn't because he was vain. It was because he hoped that someday people would learn the real story. Today, some of these items are displayed at the Stoogium in Pennsylvania, a museum dedicated to the Three Stooges. Visitors are often surprised to learn that these weren't rich comedians living in fancy Hollywood mansions. They were skilled artists who perfected their craft while struggling to feed their families. They brought laughter to the world while fighting private battles with studios that saw them as disposable. The story of Moe's sealed garage has become more than just Three Stooges history. It's become a symbol of how artists can be mistreated by big companies. Today, entertainment lawyers use Moe's story as an example when they negotiate contracts for performers. Film schools teach students about the business side of entertainment, using the Three Stooges as a warning about what can happen when artists don't protect their rights. Moe Howard spent his last years knowing that his life's work had been stolen from him. But he had one final move to make. By sealing that garage and preserving the evidence, he forced the world to wait 50 years to understand the full truth. The man who had been pushed around by studio bosses and told he was replaceable finally got to tell his side of the story. The garage discovery also revealed Moe's character in a new light. He wasn't just the stern leader of the Three Stooges who delivered eye pokes and head slaps. He was a man who cared deeply about his family and his legacy. Every item he saved was chosen carefully. Every document told part of his story. Even in death, he was still trying to protect the people he loved and the work he had created. Fans around the world were moved by what the garage revealed. On social media, people shared stories about how the Three Stooges had made their childhoods brighter. They talked about watching the movies with their parents and grandparents, passing down laughter from generation to generation. Learning about Moe's struggles made their appreciation even deeper. He had suffered so that others could smile. The timing of the garage discovery was perfect in another way. In 2025, there was a historic Howard family reunion where descendants of Moe, Curly, and Shemp came together for the first time in public. The younger generation spoke about keeping their family's comedy legacy alive. It wasn't just about honoring the past, but making sure future generations would remember the values and humanity that Moe and his brothers represented. What makes this story even more powerful is how it connects to struggles that artists face today. Streaming services, social media platforms, and entertainment companies still find ways to profit from creative work while paying artists very little. Moe's garage reminds us that this isn't a new problem. It's been happening for decades, and it will keep happening unless people stand up for fair treatment. The sealed garage was Moe's way of standing up. He couldn't fight Columbia Pictures while he was alive, but he could preserve the truth for future generations. Every letter he saved, every document he kept, every photo he protected was evidence in a case that wouldn't be tried until long after his death. And when that case was finally heard, the verdict was clear. Moe Howard and the Three Stooges deserved better. In the end, Moe Howard's garage wasn't just storage space. It was a time capsule, a courtroom, and a love letter all in one. It was where a hurt man kept the pieces of his broken dreams, hoping that someone would care enough to put them back together. Now, 50 years later, we can see the complete picture. The garage doors are open, the secrets are revealed, and Moe Howard finally has his day in court. The man who made the world laugh while his own heart was breaking was never just a stooge. He was an artist who created joy despite being treated badly. He was a brother who protected his family even when it hurt him. He was a man who chose to preserve truth over comfort and legacy over peace. And maybe that's the greatest joke of all. In trying to silence him, the studios only made his voice stronger. Because now, 50 years later, we're not just laughing at Moe Howard's comedy. We're listening to his story and finally understanding the price he paid to make us smile. What do you think about Moe's hidden truth? Was he right to keep these secrets locked away for 50